Some films age like fine wine. Labyrinth isn't one of them. It was already timeless from the start. Behind its fantasy surface lies a production filled with creative risks, last-minute changes, and secrets most viewers never noticed. From a chaotic script to casting decisions that nearly went in completely different directions, this 1986 classic hides far more than meets the eye. What you're about to discover goes beyond trivia. These are the hidden layers even devoted fans have missed for decades. And it all begins with one shocking truth. The Goblin King almost never existed as we know him. Number 1. The Goblin King almost looked elsewhere. Before David Bowie slipped into that iconic blonde wig, the Goblin King was imagined as something entirely different. Early concepts envisioned Jareth as a fully puppet-based creature, not a human performer at all. Jim Henson initially wanted the character to blend seamlessly with the goblin world, which meant exploring non-human designs that would have changed the film's entire emotional core. When the search for a human performer began, several famous names circled the role. Michael Jackson was reportedly considered, and Sting's name came up during early discussions. But it was Bowie who captured Henson's imagination, not just as an actor, but as a creative force who could bring music, danger, and seduction to the part. His involvement didn't just fill the role, it completely transformed it. Once Bowie signed on, Jareth's presence in the story expanded dramatically. Songs were written specifically for him, and scenes were reworked to give the Goblin King more screen time. What began as a mysterious villain became something far more complex, a magnetic, theatrical antagonist who would define the film's legacy. Without Bowie, Labyrinth would have been an entirely different movie. Number 2. A script that changed 25 times. Getting the story right nearly broke the production before cameras ever rolled. The screenplay went through an astonishing number of revisions. Some estimates suggest over 24 drafts were written and rewritten. Each version pulled the tone in a different direction, leaving Jim Henson caught between competing visions of what the film should be. Terry Jones of Monty Python fame wrote an early draft that leaned heavily into absurdist humor. His version was playful and strange, but Henson felt it didn't capture the emotional weight he wanted. Elaine May later contributed uncredited rewrites, helping to sharpen the story's heart. The tension between whimsy and genuine feeling became the production's central creative battle. What finally emerged was a delicate balance, funny but not silly, dark but not cruel. The finished script honored Sarah's emotional journey while keeping the fantastical chaos intact. That balance didn't come easily. It was forged through exhausting collaboration, creative disagreements, and Henson's stubborn refusal to settle for something that didn't feel true. Number 4. Hollywood fought for the role of Sarah. Landing the lead role in a Jim Henson fantasy was the kind of opportunity young actresses dreamed about. Casting calls drew an enormous pool of talent, including several names who would later become major stars. The competition was fierce, and the production team screened countless auditions searching for the right combination of youth, vulnerability, and strength. Among those who reportedly auditioned were Helena Bonham Carter and Sarah Jessica Parker. Both were rising talents at the time, and either could have taken the film in a different direction. But Jennifer Connelly, just 15 years old with limited experience, brought something the others didn't. An unguarded emotional honesty that felt completely real. Connelly's youth became an asset rather than a limitation. Her performance captured the awkward space between childhood and adulthood, which was exactly what Sarah's journey required. A more polished actress might have played the role with confidence, but Connelly's sincerity made Sarah's transformation feel earned. That authenticity became the movie's emotional anchor. Number 4. A lawsuit that nearly killed the film. Production was already underway when a legal threat emerged that could have ended everything. Author Morris Sendak, beloved creator of Where the Wild Things Are, raised concerns about similarities between his work and the film's concept. A young protagonist navigating a world of fantastical creatures ruled by a powerful king. The parallels were difficult to ignore. The dispute centered on story elements that echoed Sendak's classic picture book. Lawyers became involved, and for a tense period, the entire production hung in the balance. shutting down would have meant enormous financial losses and the collapse of Henson's ambitious vision. The situation required delicate negotiation. Ultimately, an agreement was reached. Sendok received an acknowledgement in the film's credits, and production continued without further legal obstacles. The resolution allowed Labyrinth to survive, but the close call revealed how fragile big-budget fantasies could be. One unresolved dispute nearly erased the movie from existence before audiences ever saw it. Number 5. The title almost wasn't Labyrinth. Naming a film might seem simple, but finding the right title proved surprisingly difficult. Jim Henson cycled through numerous options, none of which captured exactly what he wanted. The movie needed a name that promised adventure, mystery, and emotional depth, all in single word or phrase. Early working titles failed to stick. Some felt too generic, while others leaned too heavily into fantasy cliches. Henson wanted something that would intrigue audiences without giving away the story's secrets. The title had to evoke the twisting, disorienting journey at the film's core, while remaining memorable and marketable. Labyrinth eventually won out because it captured both the literal and metaphorical heart of the story. Sarah's path through the maze mirrored her internal struggle, confusing, frightening, and ultimately transformative. The title promised exactly what the film delivered, a winding journey where nothing is quite what it seems, and finding your way requires losing yourself first. Number 6. Darth Vader opened the first day. The first day of principal photography began with an unexpected visitor. Before a single scene was captured, the towering black figure of Darth Vader appeared on set to offer good luck wishes to the cast and crew. It was a surreal moment that blended two fantasy worlds in a way nobody anticipated, leaving everyone momentarily stunned. The man beneath the helmet wasn't David Prowse, it was a gesture arranged through George Lucas, who served as executive producer on the film. George and Henson shared deep mutual respect, having collaborated previously and supported each other's ambitious visions over the years. Sending Vader was Lucas's way of blessing the production before its difficult journey began. For the crew, the moment carried symbolic weight. They were about to embark on one of the most technically demanding shoots of their careers, surrounded by puppets, elaborate sets, and unpredictable challenges at every turn. Having cinema's most iconic villain wish them well felt like an omen of good fortune. It injected humor and warmth into what would become an exhausting but ultimately unforgettable production. Number 7. Bowie acted against silent goblins. Performing opposite puppets presented unique challenges, but one obstacle stood out above all the rest. During filming, the goblins surrounding David Bowie were completely silent on set. Their dialogue was recorded separately and added in post-production, leaving Bowie to act against mute creatures with no verbal cues to guide his reactions or timing. The technique was necessary because puppeteers couldn't voice their characters while simultaneously operating complex mechanisms. This meant Bowie never knew which goblin was supposed to be speaking during any given moment. He had to imagine the chaos around him, reacting to conversations that existed only in the script pages he'd carefully memorized beforehand. What could have been a disaster became a subtle performance triumph. Jareth's visible frustration with his incompetent goblin subjects feels completely authentic, because in many ways it genuinely was. Bowie channeled the real disorientation of performing in silence into his character's simmering impatience. That exasperation audiences see on screen came from a very real and unexpected place. Number 8. The ballroom dance has a sci-fi link. The dreamlike ballroom sequence remains one of the film's most mesmerizing and visually stunning moments. Sarah drifts through masked dancers, while Jareth pursues her, and the choreography creates an atmosphere that feels hypnotic and deeply unsettling. What most viewers don't realize is that the movement design came from someone who would later make her mark in an entirely different universe. Gates McFadden choreographed the sequence, crafting the flowing, surreal movements that make the scene so distinctive and memorable. She approached the work not as traditional dance, but as emotional expression through motion. Every gesture was designed to reflect Sarah's confusion and Jareth's predatory pursuit, turning the glittering ballroom into a psychological trap. Years later, McFadden would become famous for an entirely different role. Dr. Beverly Crusher on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Her contribution to the film often goes unnoticed, overshadowed by her successful later acting career, but the haunting atmosphere of the ballroom exists because of her unique vision, connecting fantasy and science fiction through one remarkable and versatile artist.